we live in a time where men are just extremely invisible, right? Like they feel like nobody notices them. They feel like they're just like a speck because they're constantly being hyper exposed to the lifestyles, to the multidimensionality of other men who are dominating life when it comes to getting beautiful women, when it comes to making a lot of money, when it comes to being able to travel the world and be free, when it comes to being in elite shape, right? And men who are at a younger age are doing this. So for men who are just getting into the journey of, and they don't even know this, but the journey of a man is to be multidimensionally jacked. Because a lot of these men who are able to show their multidimensional mastery within each of these 5 dimensions that you already know, physically jacked, mentally jacked, spiritually jacked, socially jacked, financially jacked, all 5 of these dimensions, a lot of men are showing that they are starting to master all of these different areas. They're being more well-rounded, and they're getting a lot more of the success socially. They're getting a lot more attention on the internet, right? They're getting a lot more options when it comes to dating. They're making a lot more money because they're able to stack a lot of these dimensions together to make this multi-dimensional man that then conquers what they need to conquer. And the problem is, a lot of men these days, they're so hyper fixated on one specific dimension, and they make that one dimension their personality. So maybe it's physically jacked. You get super jacked, but you don't really know how to speak. So you don't know how to communicate your ideas. You don't necessarily understand business, the modern day of business. You don't understand how that works. And you start to lose out on the potential upside that you may have as a man. So even for me, when I was younger, when I started to get exposed to the internet, when I started to get exposed to these hyper successful people, I started to realize that they're just multidimensional. They're very interesting people, and they're able to show how interesting they are to other people, both online and in person, which then garners you more respect from people, makes you less invisible. And it's also a shortcut, because when you're multidimensionally jacked, you don't necessarily need to be excellent at everything. You just have to be above average at a lot of these different dimensions, and you can put that all together to become a unique person. And so men who are feeling invisible are not opening themselves up to different dimensions. They're not opening themselves up to learning new things, like, for example, learning a new language, getting a new hobby, getting some new interests, learning a business model that may work for them. They're so caught up in the old way of doing things, where it's like, go get a 9-to-5 job, work as hard as you can, get a mortgage, get this, get that, live in the same place, stay in your current environment, and you will win by the age of 65. And we see so many men who are multidimensionally jacked breaking out of this paradigm, and they're starting to succeed in life beyond what the standard is. So it makes all of the other men who are basic and one-dimensional invisible to everybody. Women, men, hyper successful people, they can't get their way in life because they don't have the dimensions dialed in to where they're working on each thing. And the cool thing about it is you can work on each of these dimensions all at once, depending on what areas of your life that you need improvement on. You just have to apply this multidimensionally jacked framework to figure out, well, what am I lacking? What do I need to work on? What do I need to do to get to where I need to be? And from there, you'll stop being invisible. And when I started realizing this, I got physically jacked. And then I was like, well, my mental is a little fucked up. I need to work on that. And then it was like, oh, I need to be better at communication. So I worked on that. And then it was, well, I need to be able to make money in a different way so that it can give me the location freedom, can give me the time freedom. So I went and learned that. I learned business. I learned how to be financially jacked, financially capable, right? Doesn't mean that I'm rich right now. I'm not saying that I am, but it does mean that I know how to make money online. I know how to generate income. I understand how wealth is created. I'm learning new ways to make money, even at the point that I'm at now, where I have a business model, but I also want to learn other things as well to complement that. And I think a lot of men need to start thinking about, well, where are my gaps? What do I need to focus on? How can I set goals in each of these dimensions to become more of an interesting person so that I am not invisible in society? Because that's one of the biggest fear of men. You might be experiencing this right now. Your biggest fear, you may not say it out loud, is to be invisible and to be someone who is insignificant to society. And men who want to just go their own way and completely isolate themselves and say, well, forget all that, I'm just going to be here and it doesn't matter. You have that resentment inside of you that you don't want to say. When you watch videos like this, you get mad and you get in the comments and you're like, oh, it doesn't really matter. this and that, like modern society is fucked anyway, so I don't. No, it's just your mental model, your view of life is skewed because you refuse to expand your horizons. And you're starting to see the results of that by being socially invisible, by being digitally invisible, by just being just a person who exists. And men shouldn't just exist. They should thrive in whatever it is that they want to do. But it takes you stacking skills and stacking different things that you're learning to be this full stack, multidimensionally jacked man, which then gets you faster, better results than the average man who is focused on one dimension and making that one dimension their personality. While you'll watch me over someone who's more jacked than me, because there's plenty of people who are more jacked than me. I'm not the most jacked guy in the world. I have a great physique, but I don't look like Chris Bumstead. I don't look like Sam Sulek. I don't look like these guys. But because I was able to stack other dimensions to my personality, to who I am, it makes me, at least to some people, more interesting to watch than those people, right? I'm not the most financially wealthy person, right? I'm not one of these business gurus. But why you'll watch me over the business gurus, because I've stacked all of the other dimensions that make me interesting to you to watch and makes me interesting enough for you to want to hang out with me, right? So you have to understand how all of this stuff works and be able to master the fact that I need to learn all of these different dimensions. I need to start building myself up to be this well-rounded individual that can do many things, that now is interesting to society, to the point where now you start to get more opportunities than you ever did before. And it makes you less invisible. But a lot of men refuse to deal with this, and they refuse to have this mentality, and they start to lose. They start to feel like life is just not going their way. And the biggest reason for that is because they are not focusing on mastering multiple different dimensions to have one personality that then takes on all of these dimensions at once. That's why a lot of men feel invisible these days, especially socially, because they're not interesting. No one will sit there and want to listen to you talk. They won't want to hang out with you. They won't even want to give you opportunities because you're one-track minded. You're a one-trick pony. You only know one thing, and you only talk about that one thing, versus you're learning many different things at once to make you a well-rounded person that makes you a walking paradox, which means society is going to put you in a bubble, right? Society is going to put you in one little bubble. And your job is to break out of that bubble and be a walking paradox, right? Which means you're a walking contradiction, which means I can be jacked and you may think all he cares about is fitness. And then I go and I hit you with some philosophy, right? Or I hit you with some sort of business knowledge that I have because I've done that. And so that now makes me extremely valuable in the marketplace because I'm more capable in other dimensions that can interest more people. So that's why this whole idea of being multidimensional is so important, because the more that you can start to learn different things, the more that you can stack skills and stack these dimensions, it will make you a lot more interesting. It'll make you a lot more charismatic, especially the socially jacked part. You have to understand all these dimensions feed into each other, right? So you have to be able to build all of this to be a complete man, which will then make you more significant, less invisible in society, and give you a better quality of life, right? You'll be able to travel and you'll have geolocation freedom. You'll be able to visit other people in different countries because you'll know how that works. You'll understand getting second passports. You'll understand building borderless income. You'll understand the desire to be somebody who's free, have time freedom, to be able to do whatever you want, right? And once you understand that, that makes you even more interesting. And then you might want to get physically jacked. So you go through that process, you go to the gym, you get a good diet, and you build your body, and now you're more socially presentable. Now you develop more status physically because you look more capable, right? And then you develop the mentality. You understand how the mind works. You may learn some NLP to understand how the human mind works. I'm just breaking down what I did, guys. Like, this is literally, these are my steps that I took. On paper, I've done so much, right? In person, when you talk to me, I can bounce between so many different ideas and be very captivating and interesting because I'm multidimensional, right? So how you see me is one way, and then what I say and how I articulate myself and how I present myself in other dimensions makes you even more interested in me, right? The juxtaposition. That's the whole point of being multidimensional. It gives you a built-in juxtaposition, which is important to go viral online if building a personal brand is your thing. It's important to captivate people in real life if you want to know more people, if you want to network with more people, if you want to get better friends, you want to get people who are at higher levels. You have to have a level of juxtaposition and being interesting for them to be able to take you in. Because I'll be honest with you guys, being rich now is not enough. Showing off that you got a Lambo, everyone's getting it. So it doesn't make you different anymore. It doesn't make you this anomaly, right? It doesn't. Flashing a Rolex doesn't make you an anomaly. Having just a nice physique nowadays doesn't make you an anomaly. But being somebody who has everything or is working towards getting everything and putting it all in one makes you an anomaly that makes people want to watch you more and makes people want to be around you more. Your energy becomes a lot more potent than if you're one-dimensional, right? So you have to realize that it's important if you want to get out of being invisible these days to men and women alike. You have to start to be multidimensional and do many things, master many things, put them all together. Now you're a niche of one, you become the most interesting person in the room. Because a lot of people don't have the mentality of being multidimensionally jacked. They have the mentality of, I need to do this one thing, I need to master this one thing, and this one thing is going to get me to being less invisible. And it's like, maybe for a short period of time. But what happens when people already know that that's you, they can already assume what you're going to do and what you're going to say, and you become boring. Well, now you have to start to learn other things. You have to start exposing yourself to other areas of life. And that's the whole point around life. That's the whole point around life as a man, is that you need to constantly be pushing yourself to expanding in other dimensions. So I hope this was helpful for you, because it's going to be very important for you to develop these different dimensions and become the best version of yourself, right? So share this with a friend who needs it. I appreciate you. Links will be in the description. Like I was saying in the previous video, I have a really, really big project that I'm building out that will be my flagship thing that I want to do for everybody, that I want to give access to everybody. And I will announce it on my email list. I will announce it on my private Telegram if you're in there as well. The links will be in that description, the main link on the description. I believe it's resnoir.com. You can go on there and you can hop in and essentially just get more access, and you'll be able to get early access to this as I put it out there for people. It is going to be big. It's going to be one of my favorite things that I'm going to be building, and I can build so many things around it. So with that being said, I appreciate you, and I'm gonna catch you on the next video. Stay multidimensionally jacked.